So imagine this, you live in the Netherlands and someone from the UK has some nice contacts with Asus, and before you know it, you're on a plane to the UK for an Asus event. This is what happened to me. Together with Roger from Life of Tech and Benjamin from Lover of Tech, we had the chance to go to this enclosed event from Asus, where they were presenting the release of the Asus Rog phone in the UK. Now, while I did use the phone itself, this is not gonna be a reviewed style video because, well, I haven't used it long enough. These are my first impressions of using the phone at that night. But before I do so, I wanna thank Roger for inviting me and Asus for having me. It was really fun and also great to meet the guys. Though to be fair, Roger is a terrible guide, so if you want the guide, don't have him. Either way, check them in the link of the description. Now, to start off with the Asus Rog phone, it is not your typical smartphone. While it has a glass back, in terms of design it couldn't stand out more. From the heat vent at the back to the LED logo and some extra parts about this phone. This Asus Rog phone is committed to being a different kind of phone, and I think this is the right step from Asus when it comes to a gaming phone that feels it's committed to being just that, and it shows. To start off, I never used a display with a 19Hz refresh rate, and man, the difference is clearly there. It is so much smoother in animation because of it. Not to mention that this is an AMOLED, and me and Benjamin were talking about this and were wondering if there is another product, not even just a phone, but another product with a 19Hz AMOLED display. Now with me, I always have a worry with a phone trying to create a niche and failing in the basics. But from what I can tell, they clearly haven't. They made sure that the basics were covered. And honestly, most surprisingly, the camera did seem to perform decently well, even though the lighting was terrible. This shot of the light just looks great and it's really sharp and the colors are like that. So it seems to have a proper color balance and a correct Kelvin. And not to mention that, like the Asus Zenfone 5, they opted for a wide angle setup for the second camera. Now, like always, the second camera does get a hit in low light, but I genuinely love that they opted for this option instead of a 2x optical zoom. Overall though, the first impressions of this phone is that it seems really solid and the design will stand out when you compare it to other phones. Heck, even when you compare it to some other gaming phones out there. Now, probably one of the best things that I like about this phone is the small details. I like how they done the speakers, for instance, having this different color, but also a really nice designed shape of it. And then we have things like a USB-C port that can really benefit you when you are actually playing a game and charging it, so the cable doesn't get in the way. Something like that is really clever. And next to that, the side USB-C ports allow for an outside fan to be connected, making it cooler by 4.7 degrees on the body itself. And that accessory itself also allows for a headphone jack to be connected and a USB-C port, but it also has its own LED at the back. And then we also have little things like hidden buttons on the side that can be used while playing games, for instance using it as triggers. Something that simple gives it more of a feeling of a handheld gaming device, something you would really want for a phone like this. And this is why I say that the small details on this phone really impress me. Now, apart from all that, it also features really powerful specs. It has the Snapdragon 845, but not a normal one. No, they boosted it up to 2.96 GHz. Next to that, you have either 128 or 512 GB of memory and 8 GB of RAM. Like I said, this is really a powerful phone. At the end though, these are my first impressions, so I can only tell that much about this phone. I think it's really fun how they created a niche and really stuck to it. I especially love the small details like I said before. I think this is one of the phones that you have to look at when you want a phone that is committed to being a gaming phone. Either way, it was really fun to be there and experience this as my first event, and hopefully someday more are to come. And of course, like I said, do check out Roger and Benjamin in the link of the description, and talk to you guys in the next